Why do you want to be fit? Why do you want to lift weights? Why do you want to stay strong?
I didn't want to look at myself and be like, oh, okay, you're 30 now, it's all downhill from here. I actually started in the performance industry. So if you don't fit a mold, if you don't fit a stereotype, if you don't fit a certain size,
Acting is too big, too fat, hips too much, ugly.
you're out.
How did that feel to only be showing up because of what other people said?
I'll be 100% honest, I hated it.
It's a very toxic, negative sort of world.
And I saw it in my mum, my auntie, my grandmas even. They always had this pre-thought of what they should look like. That's not how it has to be. There's so much more to what your body can do and what women's bodies can do than what is in the media.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Stacey.
And this is the BodySmartPodcast.
And today we have got the amazing coach Sarah with us. Hello.
Yay. Hello. Thank you so much for having me. So good to be here.
Yeah, it's amazing to have you on. And we really want to showcase our wonderful coaches. And we thought, why not start with you?
Oh, honoured. Thank you so much.
So Sarah's been with us since July 2022. Solid part of the Liverpool-based team.
Yes.
So Sarah, would you mind just explaining a little bit about your journey towards being Body Smart coach? So, like, why do you even want to work with women?
Of course, yes, definitely. So my journey throughout my profession has been slightly different to majority of these coaches. I actually started in the performance industry. So I was a dancer and a singer from a very young age. And that is the kind of industry where obviously it's not fitness focused. It's not about health and wellness, but it is very image based, of course. Mm-hmm. So if you don't fit a mold, if you don't fit a stereotype, if you don't fit a certain size, you're out.
What is that, by the way?
So with majority,
typically,
so typically I obviously grew up in the 90s. Mm-hmm. So that was the waif, teeny tiny little women was what everyone wanted. It wanted to be this tiny frame, tiny everything. And when I was growing up, that wasn't me whatsoever. I had hips, I had thighs from a young age. I had the bone structure of a woman, which obviously everyone was And even though I wasn't a big girl, I always had that in my mind of I'm bigger than everyone else. And that sort of got into my mindset quite a lot. And I saw it in my family as well, with my mom, my aunties, my grandmas even. They always had this pre-thought of what they should look like, what they should be to be this ideal woman kind of thing. And it's that's not how it has to be. And it took me a very long time to sort of break that mindset of it from such a young age. So it was probably in my mid to late 20s that I was okay, this doesn't have to be the case. And it was through understanding people like yourself, Jamie, through BodySmart, through the people who understand the truth behind the health and wellness industry. It's not just image and it's not just fitting a mold. It's actually empowering yourself as opposed to belittling yourself to fit someone else. It's not how it should be. So
Was there so you mentioned then it was mid to sort of late 20s, when you kind of hit that sort of turning point. What was there anything specific that brought that on? Was it years of feeling a certain way? Was there a certain trigger point that brought that change on?
It was years of feeling like that, and it was, to be honest, it was strength training. As crazy as that probably sounds, or ridiculous as that may sound, realizing that I could do so much more for myself than I ever thought. Specifically with weights, yes, then transferred into my day-to-day life and going okay, so I've proved to myself I can do this one really hard thing. Mm-hmm. This is something I never used to think I could do. Then I realized that, okay, how can I transfer that across the board, into other areas as well? So it's such a empowering thing for people in my opinion.
I completely agree. I think I wrote a post when I was 21 and I've been going to the gym for 6 years at this point. And I was just it has taught me so many lessons outside the gym that I didn't realize it had at the time, which was to be patient, to be consistent, to progressively overload, to always be looking for opportunities to learn and get better. And I was oh, wow, I can just literally take this framework I've learned from lifting weights and apply it to anything and see success. If I just give it enough time and consistency, which is not a lesson I expected when I started lifting weights at 15.
No.
So what even got you lifting weights? Because if you were dancing and you were aiming for that physique, that wouldn't necessarily be at that time what people would have advised you to do.
No. And it wasn't. It was pure cardio. It was just cardio, keep going. And I'll be 100% honest, I hated it. I used to think I hated going to the gym because whenever I'd go to the gym, I would go on a treadmill for 60 plus minutes and that would be it. I wouldn't do anything else just because no one had ever guided me anything different. And yeah, I started going to the gym properly once I'd stopped dancing because I was like, right, okay, I need to do something to keep my fitness up. Like going from dancing 20 plus hours, over 2 days to being sat at a desk, I was like, oh, okay, this is different.
And your body must have felt awful, to go from that level of activity to nothing.
100%. I felt groggy. I felt like it wasn't my body anymore. All these kind of feelings of, okay, this isn't who I am anymore. I need to find something new. And it opened a whole new door when I actually got a trainer myself, when I got a coach myself, understood the power of the gym that isn't just treadmill life. Of course, if you love a treadmill, great, but it's not for me. And yeah, just having that understanding of there's so much more to what your body can do and what women's bodies can do than what is in the media or was in the media. It is slowly getting better, but it's not still where I think it should be, in my opinion. It's still quite an underrated thing.
What specifically then do you, because I think there's a lot of women who still listen or at least we coach that have had that mindset around cardio.
Yeah.
What have you found? Why do you enjoy weight so much more than cardio? What's the main reason for yourself?
Personally, I get such a buzz. I get such a reward from it, hitting those PBs. And again, just achieving stuff that you didn't think you could achieve before and just having the power and the strength to push yourself past points of fear, points of self-doubt, and just giving yourself that extra little bit. But like you say, it's just a little bit more each time. It's not suddenly going from one extreme to the other. It's going, okay, last week I did 10 squats at this weight. This week I'll see if I can do 11. I'll see if I can increase the weight a little bit more. Giving yourself that progression and that consistency over time is something that is so amazing and so great to achieve. And yeah, if you're ever in a bad mood, just go lift some weights, put a good playlist in. It's amazing what it can do to your mental health as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you feel like that was a role that dance played for you before as well?
Yeah, totally. I'm a big music girl. I love all kinds of music. So definitely having the playlist with the gym went really well. But from my own personal experience, I don't know if any other people who've been in the performance industry would say the same. Being in the fitness industry has opened my eyes to a little bit of how unhealthy it was before, because it was just all the focus on the image, obviously, and of the cardio as opposed to the actual strength and power of your body, especially what I was doing, which was just you needed a good amount of cardio. So yeah, just having that as a new focus with my strength training felt so much more better for my health and well-being and just general body, as opposed to just running to the ground all the time.
The performance side of things and acting is brutal. You can literally be in a lineup with too big, too fat, hips are too much, ugly, you know what I mean? Just just as cutthroat as possible. Literally. And it's I don't envy it, but it's a very toxic, negative sort of world, but I don't see it changing. I don't know if you probably know more than me, but
I think it is gradually getting better, but you were 100% correct in what you were saying with regards to, personally, I'd never experienced this in this kind of audition, but a lot of my friends did. You would just line up all the girls and they just go, no, yes, no, yes, no, before you'd said anything, before you'd moved, before you'd do anything. It was all how you looked, how your shape was, all this kind of stuff. So it was very cutthroat, to say the least.
And in terms of your confidence and your body image, something that we spoke about before was your passion at the moment is to really try and help women make change, but not from that place of feeling bullied into it, and not because other people want them to change, not because they want to fit an ideal. Yeah. But it sounds like that must have been where you were going to the gym from that place originally.
Oh, yeah.
How did that feel to only be showing up because of what other people said?
Like that wasn't a good place to be. I can 100% see that now. It's that sort of the thing that hindsight is such a wonderful thing. And I kind of wish I could go back to like my early 20s, mid 20s self and just give myself a little bit of a shake and just be like, you don't have to be here to do this just because everyone else is doing it or just because you think this is the ideal. Like, follow what you want to achieve, follow what goals you set yourself, not necessarily what Brenda's doing down the road, not like what your sister's doing. What you want to achieve is important, and how you get there is your own doing, is your own like determination, is your own finding what works well for you and finding that confidence level with things.
So obviously you said that you felt like you had to fit a certain look and like be a certain size to be able to succeed in your career during your 20s and stuff. And that wasn't a great place to be.
No.
But you somehow made a transition. Was there a moment where you just went, enough's enough? Or was it something someone said? Like, what was that turning point for you?
It was understanding what I could do in the gym, which I could like transfer to general life, but also like I had a career change and I had an engagement and I had all these things that were great things in my life, but obviously they are like pivotal points where you do stop and reflect. And it is, especially when it came to like my wedding, and I'm sure like a lot of brides feel the same, the amount of pressure on brides to look a certain way on your wedding day, have all these pictures taken of you. You do want to look absolutely phenomenal. And I really worked, but not necessarily in the way I would work now. It was, again, really restrictive, like really just doing all the things that would actually make me miserable in normal life. But I was like, this is the goal. This is how I'm going to get there, though. This is what I'm going to do. And I did. I had a wedding and it was great. And then it was like, okay, but what now? And then I was no longer wanted to continue on doing these things that made me miserable, of course, without a goal. So that's when I really wanted to thrive more with looking after myself well, like not necessarily fitting a mold or fitting what anyone else wanted of me. It was like, okay, how can I make myself happy now? How can I make myself feel like the best version of Sarah as opposed to this bride that I had in my head that wasn't actually me. It makes sound silly, but yeah, just having that
I think
thing.
so many women will relate to that though, that goal. And then when you get there, not only do you have like the post-wedding blues because all of the planning and all of the excitement is now done, you also have nothing to aim for, like in terms of your training, your nutrition, if that's been a big goal for you.
100%. It is like, oh great, I've got the dress, I've got the pictures. Now what?
In terms of motivation, that's a very like extrinsic motivation, isn't it? It's like having a goal, having a date, having a challenge, and like that can help, but it only helps you go a certain distance. It's really getting that intrinsic reason why, which is like, why do you want to be fit? Why do you want to lift weights? Why do you want to stay strong?
Massively.
What did that end up being for you?
For me, it was like coming towards the end of my 20s. I know 30 is not an age, but when you're in your mid to late 20s, it is a scary thought. And I was like, okay, this isn't what I want. I didn't want to feel like, again, I know 30 is no age, but as a standard 30-year-old, I didn't want to look at myself and be like, oh, okay, you're 30 now, that's it. Like, it's all downhill from here kind of thing. And I was like, no, I am not going to just feel like this is how I have to be. I'm going to do what I can to be the best version of myself continuously. And no matter what age I am, no matter what age I'm going to be, I still want to be proud of myself. I still want to hold myself in a certain way. I still want to be fit and active. And the only way to do that is to put in the bit of effort and to put in a bit of work and to do something you can do consistently that's not just for a wedding or just for a holiday or just for a party. It is picturing that version of yourself and going, right, what would future Sarah want me to do? How could I like look back and be like, good, that was really good. Well done. Like, I'm really pleased I did that kind of thing. And that, like you say, that intrinsic motivation to just be the best version of yourself, that 1% better each day is the most important thing when it comes to striving for your goals and striving to live a happy, healthy life, if you ask me. Yeah,
you see this all the time with like, in anything, like when we should set goals and we should set mountains to climb, but as soon as we get there, we should, stop and smell the roses, something I'm very guilty of doing, by the way. I'm just like...
not doing.
All right, Stace, this is a blast for Jay, is it? You get to that next, then when you get there, stop and smell the roses. Jay will learn. And then set that next milestone, because it's the process of, achieving that next thing that can almost feel very rewarding and chasing that process. There's also the whole, we're big on the philosophy of getting 1% better. Yeah. There's a Japanese word that we've got Simon. There's a Japanese word of just continuous Kaizen. Yeah. And what's the actual definition? Okay, you'll find out. Yep. But I think it's a philosophy that we all sort of,
like continuous improvement.
Yeah, we embody in our Body Smart, and we also push onto our clients. And it's the whole mantra of getting 1% better, because it's just that constantly like, that didn't go to plan, right? How can we learn from this? And just constantly striving to just be a little bit better all in and see everything as an opportunity instead of a failure.
Yeah, 100%.
So Kaizen is a compound of two Japanese words that together translates to good change or improvement. However, Kaizen has come to mean continuous improvement. So yeah, just continually finding ways to get a little bit better, because there is no end game.
No.
Right? When there is no wedding and there is no audition or there is no party, it is not about an end game. It's about enjoying your life. Yeah. And actually something our guest yesterday said on the podcast was really nice, where she said, when I have a holiday now, I don't think, oh my God, I've got a holiday in 4 weeks. Oh my God, I've got to go on diet. Like, stress about how I'm going to look at my bikini, because her life is just lived in a way where she does just feel good all the time. Mm-hmm. And that in itself can be really rewarding, like not standing in front of your wardrobe and being like, I've got nothing to wear, like everything looks crap. Yeah. You don't have those moments when you take care of yourself.
No, massively. Like, life is to be lived. Life is such a wonderful thing for so many different reasons. Of course, there's challenges, but when it comes to, like you say, having that confidence in yourself to know you have anything in your wardrobe you can throw on. You don't have to panic if there's like a last minute night out or a last minute holiday or something like that. And like, as women, I do think a lot of us do feel worried when it comes to holidays. Like, I've just had a new client this week and she said, I've got something to tell you. Like, really seriously. I was like, okay, absolutely fine. What is it? She's like, I'm going on holiday in 2 weeks. And it's like, okay, and she's like, I know it's a bad time. It's a bad time. It's like, no. These are wonderful things. These are great things in your life. And you don't have to, just because you're on a fitness or fat loss journey, be like, no, I'm just going to be miserable. It's like, you can do so much and still live your best life and still look after yourself. It doesn't have to be so black and white or good and bad.
Yes.
There's so much more to it than that.
And I think that's one of the massive mindset shifts that we help clients with, is that all or nothing around holidays of, oh, I'm going to go on holiday for 2 weeks and it's going to completely undo all my hard work and I shouldn't have even started until after I get back. Like, how many times have you been through that cycle of not starting till you get back, when actually, when you find the middle ground of like making slightly healthier choices on your holiday, you actually feel nicer. You don't come to like the end of 7 days and feel like bloated and crap. And you come back and you realize you haven't really done any damage. So it's really like enlightening for a lot of clients, isn't it? When they actually have a holiday in the middle of their coaching journey.
Yes, definitely. Like I say, it's so empowering to understand that they can have the control, they can have the choice of, I'm going to eat to feel good. I'm not going to overindulge just because I'm on holiday. I'm not going to like eat ice cream till it comes out my ears just because I'm on holiday. It's like, and this is something that I will always install in them before they go away, is like, just continue to eat to feel good. Remember that you're wanting to enjoy this holiday. You're wanting to make memories. It's not just about the stuff that actually makes you feel rubbish after, like the day after, the morning after, all this kind of stuff. Focus on what's good and how to make yourself feel great.
Yeah, I've actually had clients who've been with us for 6 months and not had like any hiccups, just complete linear weight loss the whole time, like not even real spikes and fluctuations. And it got to the point where I was like, I need you to go and like fuck this up. Like, I need to go on like vacation, or I need you to like mess it up.
How you're gonna react.
Yeah, because if you've not, like, unless you're planning on never going on vacation again, or never having a Christmas, and it's just not reality. Like, never having hard times hit you, which is going to happen, then you don't actually have maybe some of the necessary strategies to go the distance, and the distance is the rest of your life. I would have rather had a client over a year, gone on a couple of vacations, had Christmas, maybe got ill, like just life, just general life stuff happen, but they've been able to get back on it and keep moving forward and maintain the results that they've got. It shows so much more resilience to stand the test of time.
Massively. And it shows so much strength as well, and so much learning and growth in that person, as opposed to just, this is my set routine, this is what I do day in, day out. Like, no one really wants to live like that. We do want to have holidays, we do want to have celebrations and last minute stuff because it's fun. But yeah, knowing that you have the knowledge and understanding and empowerment to still look after yourself, still live a healthiest life with all the great things as well, not a bad thing at any stretch of the imagination.
It's a skill. Like, just like so many parts of your health and fitness are just skills. And if you've done that and developed those skills to get back on track, next time the chaos happens again from the nice orderly routine that you might have, you're like, oh, I've been here before. Like, I know what this is like. And you've got the skills necessary to get back on track.
Yeah.
Especially with those big changes, you know, that happen, like changing jobs, having a baby, moving city. It happens all the time with clients, doesn't it? And it happens when they haven't got this stuff figured out. It can feel like the start of a downward spiral.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned earlier, like for you, having those big pivotal moments was actually for you a moment to say, no, not going to be a downward spiral.
Yeah.
So when you're working with a client, how do you help them take that decision for it to be a force for good and a force for change, rather than it being something that just takes them down?
I think it's just looking inward to themselves and just actually being like, how do you want to live your life? How do you want to see yourself, like, in the next 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is? Having that idea of how you actually want to live ahead of this. Like, are you going to let this change or hard time define you? No, you're not going to want to suddenly live the rest of your life in a bad place just because of one decision or one pivot point, as I call them with some of my clients. Giving yourself that option to go, okay, this isn't how I expected my journey to go, but does that mean I'm going to completely fall off and just stop? Like, no, you're not. So you're going to continue on anyway, so you might as well continue on in a way that you are proud of and you are happy with, as opposed to just thinking, I'm just going to go down here because that's what everyone else is doing. It's like, no, there's other options. It's not just a fork in the road. There's so many different options that you could choose to live your best life, kind of thing.
You've mentioned the phrase a few times, something that I'm proud of or something that you're proud of, which I think actually a lot of women find quite hard to say, like, I'm proud of myself, or like find what would it even be that I would be proud of. Yeah. So how would you help somebody who feels a bit disjointed from that side of themselves?
Yeah, totally. And you're 100% right, Stacey. Like, so many women are, I don't want to say afraid, but just a little bit apprehensive to actually give themselves some credit.
Yeah.
Like, it seems crazy, but I've, like I said, been there in my own life so many times. And it is, you want to strive for perfection. So if you don't get perfection, you're a failure. And that's like how
So are you a perfectionist?
So I class myself as a recovering perfectionist, because there are some great points to a perfectionist mindset. There are also some negative points. And I strongly believe, and I know you may not agree with this, Jamie, but I believe that you can't bully yourself into change. I think you need to give yourself some self-compassion, like some grace, some understanding. So not that you're just going to sit on your ass and be like, I'm being kind to myself, this is what I do. It's like, no. You have goals, you have actions, you set yourself these challenges. But if it doesn't go 100%, you're not going to dwell on that 2% that went wrong. You're still going to be like, I'm proud of the 90% I did here, and I've got somewhere to improve on. It's not thinking, I've done it 100% wrong. It's like, no, there were still some good points here. So even if a client is having a bad day, or they've got over on their calories, they've missed a workout, it's like, well, I still want you to tell me one thing that you've done well for yourself this week. And the more you get into that habit, the more you get a dopamine hit. The more you're like, oh, actually, yeah, that was good. And as opposed to thinking the dwelling on the negative, you're like, you want to have that hit again. You want to have something you're proud of again. You want to have something that you can tell Sarah or your coach or whoever about, even if it's just yourself. So having these proud moments is something I drill into clients very early on.
Where do you think that because a lot of it just sounds like unrealistic and unmatched expectations. I have an expectation to do 100%, but I can do 80, but 80 isn't good enough. So I'm the worst person in the world. You know, you've got this constant unmatched expectation with reality. Yeah. So how do you deal with that with clients?
It's sort of bringing it to their attention and zooming out. Because when you are in that mindset of everything is awful. I've done so much wrong here. You are very like blinkered into that mode. So I will zoom out so they can see the bigger picture, whether that's simple as looking at the full journey so far, or just reminding them that it's not as black and white as they are thinking right now. It's not just right or wrong. Or like you said, if it was 80%, like maybe it wasn't a day where you could give yourself 100%. Maybe you were ill, maybe you were injured, maybe there was something going on at home. Like allowing yourself that realism of going, this is actually my reality right now.
Yeah.
The perfectionist version of myself I'm thinking of actually doesn't exist. Like that's actually something that I've made up for myself that I'm trying to aim for. What is my reality? What is my situation right now? And bringing them back to that as opposed to the perfect version of themselves that they want to be, dealing with their reality as opposed to not their reality. The best thing that I try and do.
I think it's well of like, sometimes it's not even the big thing. Sometimes you're just genuinely tired. And you maybe don't even realize you've just been working super hard for the past couple of weeks, or the baby's kept you up for the past couple of nights, and you come back and the house isn't exactly in the order that you want it to be in, and just like all these little things just start to stress you out, and it just feels like it's just getting like bigger and bigger and more, and it's just like, and then eventually you just feel like you're gonna get to this like breaking moment where you're gonna crack, and like a lot of that time you can turn to food or alcohol as a way of just kind of like letting that weight almost like just sort of that you're carrying around. But it's, I think I've said this on many podcasts, is being a perfectionist, which I can probably am in still a lot of ways, and I can see like there are good sides to it in terms of just like quality mattering in a lot of ways, but like in school, getting 100%, getting an A, doing really well in your career, like showing up and doing 100% with your work, like that all serves you. But when it comes to just parts of your health and wellness, it's just it's an unrealistic expectation to set that will just bury you over time in a lot of ways.
It's often like a coach is probably the first person that's ever told you don't have to be 100%. Because if you think about in school, it's like, oh, you did all right, you got a B, could have been an A though. Or like, oh, you were 1 mark off the next grade, so next time try harder. Definitely for me, for my parents, it was always like an expectation to do your best at everything. I remember actually having a conversation with them where they were like, we don't care what you do in life as long as you're the best. Like, okay. The pressure, Jesus. But like that has scarred me because I like remember that conversation. I know where I was sat. I know like who was there. And they're like, we don't care what it is. If you choose to be this or if you choose to be that, you just have to be the best. I was like, okay. Yeah. And so that then really just lays the foundation for like, okay, well, if I'm going to do anything, the same as whether it's fitness or if it's in my career or if it's an exam, I've got to do the best. And the best is obviously 100% because otherwise that's not the best. So it is set into us very, very young, I think. And like setting exams for kids that are 6 years old and all of that, I think it's just setting the foundation for so much self-doubt and, I don't know, self-esteem issues as kids grow older. And it's played out in the figures, isn't it? If you look at like the mental health statistics for kids now, even without COVID in the mix, all of this pressure to perform, to be good at everything is so intense. And I genuinely think like when people get a coach, they think that's going to be the same line. Like, okay, you want to get your goals, you got to do this perfectly, this perfectly, this perfectly. And when we say, well, actually, we only really need you to do about 80% on your nutrition and about 80% on showing up on your habits, and people are like, nah.
What's the catch?
I think coming back to like being proud of yourself, I think when people feel proud of themselves is when you keep your promises to yourself. Like that is like the biggest, like when you do what you say you're going to do, I feel like that's when you're just like, you really feel like it's a sense of fulfillment. So I definitely find that when you speak to clients and you ask them, hey, like what's the least amount of workouts that you could 100% commit to for the next month? And it's like, they just expect you to naturally ask what's the most. And when they say like 3, and you're like, right, so we can 100% find 3 30-minute slots a week to do 100% workouts. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that's where we're going to start. And then they do that consistently for a month and they see success, but they've kept the promises to themselves. And then it's like, it's building blocks. How can we build upon this and build forward? But that is definitely not, I know it's how we coach, but I don't think it's also general coaching, especially in the health and fitness side of things. It is because fast sells, fast weight loss, do this, go extreme, go hard. And that's often it's playing into that perfectionist all or nothing mentality, which people are like, yeah, that is what I need, that thing, because it's 100%. And then, it's like a sprint. It's like a fast result. It's like if you go in fast and you set things on fire and
run out again.
Quickly burn,
But this is it. It's the instant gratification that people want, which is like what we were saying about strength training. And when it comes with like that side of stuff, it's the delayed gratification. It's seeing the longevity that you are giving yourself, not just here's 6 weeks to lose 6 stone. It's like, no, that's not going to serve you well in a long run. You'll feel like absolute shit for 6 weeks. You'll have lost weight, but then you'll go back to exactly what you're doing before. It's the longevity and the, like you say, the slow release of gratification as opposed to go, go, go. And 110%, then nothing.
Yeah.
Peaks and troughs.
Sorry to interrupt. If you are enjoying this podcast, we would ask you to go and hit the subscribe or the follow button, as we are on a mission to grow this podcast to be as big as it can be and get some amazing guests on here to give you guys even more value.
So you said earlier something which I thought was interesting about strength training being like that longer term, teaching you patience, giving you something to aim for. So what are your goals at the moment? Because somebody would look at you and be like, well, you look excellent, you're really strong, like what can you possibly be working on?
So I'm in a strength phase at the minute. Like I really want to push myself a lot with my strength. So I'm doing like my main ones at the minute are standard compound, so bench, deadlift and squat. I want to get 90 kg for 5 on my squat. I want
How heavy are you?
I'm 58 at the minute.
That is impressive.
And I'm wanting to get 60 on my bench. I can do
60 kilo?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I can do 55 with a spot at the minute. So yeah, I want to push that even further. But again, if this was me in my early 20s and you said to me, what was your fitness goal? I'd be like, to be a size 8. This is the great thing about a fitness journey. As you said, there is no stopping point. It's realizing what you're capable of, seeing how far you can push that boundary and be like, oh.
Yeah, the narrative's definitely changing. Instead of being just like, how small and skinny can I be, or what's the thinnest I can be, it's now more like, how fit and strong can I be? And it's such a healthier way of going about viewing fitness, because fitness is amazing. It's not just running on a treadmill for an hour and being bored and be like, I hate this, hate this, hate this, hate this, hate
How
this.
did you even just keep showing up?
Just pure determination.
Yeah. But that's
Just
a lot of people do just gruel through it. I mean, you can be, when there was no, I sound old now, there was no like iPhones and iPads, like when I was first going to the gym back then. So, you did just have to be with yourself and be a little bit bored. I think people do distract themselves more now to do cardio, and, that's fine if it works for you, but there's so much more to your training. And when you go into a session, if you're following a progressive plan, and then you're like, oh, flipping heck, this week's like the week where we move up by like 5%, and you're even like a little bit nervous sometimes going into the session, but it's like, it's good. They're like good nerves. And then if you do hit 1 or 2 PBs, you're like, oh, I didn't get that, but I got this and I got this. And it's, it's playing on your mind. It's keeping you focused. There's a lot to be said for it.
Massively.
And obviously we always talk about how much there's that enjoyment factor of training, but I know for everyone that isn't the case, and you work with women day in, day out who probably still have a bit of that mentality of like, I'm doing this to get me to this goal.
Yeah.
So how do you get somebody to kind of shift towards maybe liking it a bit more?
It's just finding what they do enjoy. So, for example, I, of course, as I've mentioned several times now, love strength training so much. But if someone literally came to me and were like, Sarah, I've tried several times, it's just not getting me in the zone. It's like, okay, how have you tried? Have you tried like going to classes? Have you tried boot camps? What have you tried like expanding that horizon, knowing that it's not fitting into this exact thing that you should be doing or should be doing to please anyone else, as we were saying. It is going from, what do you get enjoyment out of? Like, do you like yoga? Yes, brilliant. Like, how many times could you like successfully go to a yoga class in a week? Like, looking at it and stripping it back as opposed to forcing down someone's neck when they're literally like, no, like me on that treadmill for 60 minutes.
Yeah, I think I definitely spoke to many clients and they're just like, I just don't like exercise. I just hate it. And it's like, I know you're like, yeah, but it's like, no, I just hate it. And I think that is just because just either a huge negative relationship with exercise from a very young age, or they've never really participated in it. And yeah, I think sometimes even like finding something you can enjoy is like a hack, isn't it? Like I say this, I go and play squash with one of my mates like once a week, and we do 60 minutes, and I'll probably burn more calories than being on the treadmill, the Stairmaster for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
But when I'm on the Stairmaster, I'm like, just like grueling through this, like determination. And I'll do that, and I'll laugh, we flip and fall over, flipping dead competitive, and it's like fun. And I'm like, burnt more calories if you look at it from that sort of standpoint, had more fun. But like a lot of people just don't even know where to start with that. And I think it's just like, you're just not good at it yet. And I honestly think, you've just not tried enough things. Like that's the beauty if you find something that you enjoy from a young age. It's almost like it's a gift that maybe your parents or your upbringing's given you, that you've been able to find a form of exercise that you like. But I'm yet to find a person that has tried enough things for a long enough period of time to not find something that they enjoy. Yeah. Like, because you, like, let's say you've never played tennis and you start playing tennis, like, you're gonna suck. Like, you're gonna, and like,
That'll be me.
Yeah, that'll be me. But like, give it 6 months. You start hitting a couple of serves, underarms, and you're like, oh, like I just want a point. I mean, it's like now it becomes a little bit more enjoyable. But that's like 6 months of showing up, or so you go and lift weights for the first time. It's nervous, like you don't know what you're doing. You've got a low skill level. You go and do it for 6 months, and you start seeing that strength go up, building a bit of muscle, seeing definition. It starts to become more enjoyable, but it's just getting past like the suck for 6 months. That's what it is, though.
And I think that's a big thing for the perfectionists amongst us, because actually all three of us are around the table. But for me, that is one of the big barriers, or was in the past one of the big barriers, because I was like, well, I'm not sporty. Yeah. Because everything I tried, I was shit at it. And I was like, well, I'm not shit at things, so I'm not going to do that again. But it was only when I started to say, well, I'm going to have to just accept being a beginner for a little while, and then start to find things that are a bit more accessible, and then you get those newbie gains quicker. So it was, for me, it was yoga, climbing, weightlifting, were things where actually there's very beginner-friendly versions where you feel like you see progress quite quickly. So I think if you're in the space where you feel like you hate exercise, try some of these things where there's actually a very easy on-ramp for like getting some feel-good factor and some progress, and then perhaps it's not going to be something that's a grueling, horrible experience, and you can build on that.
Because we're not meant to be sedentary. We're just like if you don't like exercise, your body certainly doesn't like doing nothing, and like that's just true and true. You know what I mean? 100%. You're just sitting down all.
But if you've always done nothing, you don't know.
You don't know the difference, and that's the hard part to sell feelings. Like I always say, like I wish someone could just like. I could just swap bodies with them for a day. I mean, you know what I mean? You know, you'd be like, right, you see how good I feel, like how much energy I've got? I'm like, that could be you too. And like, they'd be like, just you tell me what I'm going to do after that. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So that is the hard part with feelings. But it's, people can feel so much better than they probably are. And it's just about having that confidence and taking that step to make it happen.
Yeah. And it's not just about, feeling good because you're physically fit. I know we've got so many clients, and you have as well, that have genuinely like reversed diabetes, like come off medication. So do you want to share some of those stories?
Yeah, massively. Like these are like the ultimate incredible wins when you do hear like these life-changing things that they've achieved, and they do come to lose weight. They do come to like, I want to be this weight, I want to get into this size. But then it's the goals, like say coming off like heart medications, getting at such a lower risk of not being on a list for like the risk of diabetes anymore. Like some of the women I've worked with have got into new jobs, new careers, new relationships, whilst they have been focusing on themselves. Like, and it's a very well-known saying, but I use it a lot all the time with my clients, is you can't pour from an empty cup. Like if you want to like see success in your life, give yourself to your jobs, give yourselves to your relationships, give yourselves to your family. Starts from you, starts from coming within yourself first. And these are the incredible wins. Of course, the weight losses come with that, but like you say, how they feel in themselves now, how their energy's changed, like above and beyond, like what they actually came for.
It's so difficult as well. Like it's a very true phrase, isn't it? Like you can't pour from an empty cup, which is basically saying you have to be selfish in order to be selfless. But like most women, and I'm not trying to generalize all women here, I have to be very careful as a guy saying that ever, but most women, I would say, generally are more selfless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Will put others before themselves a lot of the time and struggle to say no. So like that just makes it very hard to be like, hey, like, can you take my kid to school tomorrow? Like when you're picking yours up, and it's just like, I had a gym session planned then. It's like, yes, of course I will. You know what I mean? It's just like, or like, you know, like the boss says like, hey, like we've got this project on, can you stay like 2 hours? And it's like, you know, and it's hard because there's a line of like, sometimes you do want to just help other people, and sometimes you do want to do better and work. Yeah. But then if that just keeps becoming a pattern where you're just like, yes, and you find like there's no time for you, you've got that empty cup, and it's such a difficult place to be able to give back to.
Massively, and I agree. Like you say, that is one of the biggest struggles a lot of women face, because they do have so many hats that they wear. They're like a mom.
But you've said it now, I'm safe.
Yeah. It's so true. But what I sort of, again, have as a baseline with clients is like, what non-negotiables can you do for yourself? Like this week, like, can you go to the gym 3 times? Like, can you go to the gym twice? Can you do a home workout? Can you like do like the absolute baseline of, I am not going to answer any emails past 8 p.m. Like something like that. Just giving yourself that boundary in your mind, and baby steps. So some women that is 10 p.m. Some women that is like, I'm not going to start work till 6:30 in the morning. Like just giving yourself a little bit of boundaries and a little bit of structure, knowing that you do have some elements of your day which are purely yours and no one else can touch that, can be a great thing. And again, don't want to say selfish, because like you say, it's something that you do need to have to fulfill your own needs, but sometimes you need to be selfish.
It's not selfish though. I don't think it's selfish. So one of the things that I find really irritating as a relatively new mum is nearly every dad in our like parent friendship group goes to the gym or like does their workouts. There is no question. There is no like, oh, would you mind watching the kids whilst I go to the gym for that hour so that I can go and get my workout in? There's no discussion. He just goes and he does his workout and he comes home a bit later than he would have done from work, and then the rest of the evening cracks on. If the mum wants an hour for a workout, it's like a logistical challenge that the whole family must be engaged in to ensure that the mum may leave for 1 hour.
It's spreadsheets.
What the hell? And like it just... It's such a cliche, but it is just like the default parent still exists, and we're in 2023 and it shouldn't be, and it shouldn't be even. And if you're in an equal relationship, you shouldn't have to ask permission or like it be a discussion for one of you and not for the other. But it just is. And I think that's a really big barrier where women are made to feel like it's selfish, because it has become this thing that they then have to ask for or ask for help. Like, you're not asking for help. It's his kids too. Like it drives me insane. But yeah, I think we have to change that whole thing as a society of you're just as entitled to space and time on your own as anybody else.
Massively.
And the more we say it isn't selfish, the more it's like, but it is.
No, you're right. And I think a better way to look at it is self-care. Like, as women, like majority of us will still, if you think of self-care, you think of going to a spa, you think of having a nice bubble bath, maybe a bit of chocolate, where actually the best form of self-care you can do for yourself is setting these non-negotiables, like your sleep, your boundaries with other people, your nutrition. Like these are the baseline elements of self-care which will do you so well and do you so brilliantly for the rest of it.
Yeah. And I think also making it less of a big thing as well. So like when you're saying, can you get to the gym 3 times? For a lot of mums particularly, you're like, no. But can you go downstairs 20 minutes earlier and like do some bodyweight exercises in the front room whilst the baby's getting ready with dad?
Exactly.
Probably. So like resetting those expectations of yourself.
This is it. And this is again where I think the perfectionist mindset comes in. It's giving yourself that awareness of what your reality is. So what your version of your best is. Like say for a new mum, that's not going to be going to the gym 3 times a week. That is going to be doing whatever you can to have a little bit of time for yourself. Whereas someone who doesn't have any kids, doesn't have that same responsibilities, will have a different version of what the best version is. And that's okay. That is more than okay. That is how life and our human race works. No one's the same. Like having that understanding and not putting the pressure on yourself to do the same thing as someone who has completely different responsibilities to you is something you need to learn for yourself.
It's difficult though, isn't it? It's there are those societal pressures, and pressures on women to just bounce back afterwards, and then then you've got a complete identity shift. Oh, I was just Stacey, and now I'm Stacey, who's a mum. And it's like a complete identity shift in who you are as a person, how you view yourself. And then even if you had more of a healthy relationship with exercise, that then just completely shifts and changes. So you might have seen like, oh, well, I was able to do 80%, but that was 45 minutes, 80% pre-kid. And now 80% is actually 15 minutes. And that just even getting used to that change and what that looks like it's difficult, you know what I mean? But it's
especially when that is part of your self-care. Like for me, I was very conscious that I needed exercise to feel good physically and mentally and like manage my well-being. And when that was then almost taken away, I was a bit at sea. I was like, I don't know what to do now because I can't have my little like daily medicine. And so it was even worse in a way because I knew how good I could feel and I knew what I needed to do, but that actually wasn't a viable like plan of action for me at this point. So it's every life's challenge has a different solution, right? And that's the beauty of working with clients one-to-one is you get to ask all these questions and find out like what actually is possible.
Exactly. It's all personalized, not a cookie cutter kind of like this works for everyone, because that's not true. That's not life. That's not how you can pigeonhole people so easily.
And you should be very, very wary of anyone who's dogmatic with an approach and says there's one size fits all, because it's just not true.
So for you right now then, Sarah, what does your kind of fitness, nutrition regime look like? Because people always want to know, even if we're saying you don't have to copy it, which you don't, people always are intrigued to hear.
To be honest, so the last like probably 6 months now, I did go on a quite strict regime, but that was to do like a fitness photo shoot. It was to get my body in a place that it never necessarily been before. So it was different things that I do from my usual day-to-day life. Whereas now my foot is off the gas a little bit. I'm still, of course, focusing on my health and wellness. I am focusing on my strength. So I go to the gym like 3 times as a non-negotiable, and then I'll go like 4 if it's a good week. I will focus on my strength, focus on my protein, focus on my water intake. But I'm not in a position right now where I am really strict on my day-to-day calories or my day-to-day macro split. It's just going, I have the knowledge, I have the tools, I know what serves me well and I know what serves me not so well. So I'll have probably more of like a 70-30 split with my like wellness and fun kind of side before, whereas previously, before the photo shoot, before the holiday, it was like 90-10. So you still have a little bit of balance, but it's just having that split suiting your life and you knowing that you don't have to be white knuckling the reins when it comes to like your calories or your protein or all your exercise. Even every single phase of your life, there'll be different seasons of your life which you can adapt to, and it doesn't always have to look the same. So yeah.
And so with your food at the moment, you said like 70-30 split. So would you track your calories or just kind of intuitively eat?
More intuitively for me at the minute. Like I obviously have tracked calories for a lot of my life. Like I know I've got a lot of knowledge from previously, like tracking so frequently, and even the start of this year, tracking so religiously. Now it's like I say, foot can come off the gas a little bit. I know what I get from the best foods. I know the best protein sources that work well for me. And I roughly don't really change, like have drastic changes Monday to Friday. And then weekends are more like relaxed. So I can go out for meals, go out for like drinks with my friends, and it not be, oh, I need to count every single thing now. Whereas I've done that before, but now I'm not in that phase right now.
Yeah, I think it's really reassuring for people to hear that isn't a thing that you do forever.
No.
And actually you can have a great physique and only go to the gym 3 times a week and enjoy your weekends.
Yeah.
And that's not going to come and kick you in the ass. Like you're still going to look great in another 6 months if that's how you live your life.
Yeah, totally. And of course you can tighten it up again if you want to. You can loosen it a little bit more if you want to. But just having the baseline understanding, and that's what we give our wonderful women at BodySmart, is that empowerment of knowledge, of that baseline education of this is how you look after yourself. This is how you can show up for yourself and give yourself a healthy life, and you can go through different seasons where you change and tweak things ever so slightly. But as long as the baseline is there, that's what matters.
Amazing. Well, that's been so enlightening. Thank you for coming in, Sarah. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much. I've loved it.
If you've been listening to the Body Smart podcast, you will know we work with women on a one-to-one basis. Now, our goal is for you to become a Body Smart graduate, and that means we help you hit your weight loss goal, but most importantly, we help you develop the skills, habits, and traits to make a sustainable change so you never gain that weight back. If you're interested and you're ready, willing, and able, we can guarantee that we will get you results. You can find out more with the link in the description.